All right, well, this is going to be another sort of pond-themed video. This is a bag of Purina Aquamax, what the hell they call it, Sportfish 500. And I've got that Texas Hunter feeder over on the pond. It's been over there for, I don't know, 3 weeks or something like that. I posted a video about putting that out. The feeder itself is working great, but the fish are just not eating the food. And I'm not over there all the time, to watch it. But when I am over there, I'll hit the test button, to feed the fish a little extra so I can watch them. And they're just really not eating that stuff. And it was just whatever the farm store had. I called around to the local farm stores. I think it's called Shawnee or Shawnee Springs, something like that. It's catfish fingerling food is what's out there right now. I like it because it's floating and it's like 3/16 diameter, I think. So it's small. So it's just right for bluegill. Well, this Purina Aquamax 500 is also small diameter. I can't remember exactly the size on it right now, but it's supposed to be much better. That like the fish are supposed to enjoy it much more. They're supposed to actually eat it more than some of the off brands because of the fish meal being the #1 ingredient. And this is the tag I just ripped off the bottom of it. So that stuff that I've got in there right now, I think it's like 36%, but the #1 ingredient, and I threw the tag away a few weeks ago, I should have kept it, but the #1 ingredient on that other stuff is soybean, where this one is fish meal, then poultry byproduct meal, then we get the corn, then we get to the soybean meal. So, and you can see the rest of the instructions, there ingredients. So the reviews that I've seen of this stuff, I'm in a couple of pond groups on Facebook, and I'm hearing like people is sort of in the same boat as me. Yeah, my bluegill are just not hitting this generic feed very well. They're not, they're not taking to it like I expected them to. And then, I switched over to this Aquamax, and it looks like I'm feeding piranhas now. I remember one post was, the bluegill are okay with it, but I switched over to this Aquamax because hearing so much good, and now the bass are even starting to feed on it. I don't expect the largemouth in that pond, in my pond, to really take to it. That'd be okay if they did, but in another video, I think I talked about, I've got hybrid striped bass in the pond now, so I'm really hoping that the hybrids will eat this stuff because they won't eat the stuff that's in there at all right now. So, and even on the back of the bag here, you can see what it says. That the hybrids do well on kind of switching over to this, and it talks about feed trained bass up here, like largemouth and I guess smallmouth, they don't even take to it. This would be advertisement on the bag, and it even talks about up here how they may or may not take to it. But I'm really hoping that the hybrids will. And the bluegill, I didn't even read about the bluegill. What's that say? Rely on a consistent feeding program. So I would expect the bluegill ought to love this stuff. So anyhow, we're gonna get over there. We're gonna scoop out, I brought my bucket, got a bag. We're gonna scoop out all that old stuff. We're gonna put this in. I'll make a little video I'll hit the test button and we'll make a little video of, before I scoop out the old stuff, I'll hit the test button on the feeder. We'll make a video of, how the bluegill do on the old stuff. Then tomorrow, this same time, because I wanted to, keep it consistent, tomorrow, this same time, I'll go over and we'll do a test on this and see how well they respond to the new stuff. Okay, so here we are at the pond. There's the feeder, and the wind's kind of coming at me, kind of blowing in my face just a little bit. It's a gentle breeze. This thing would have went off. It's about 7:30 p.m. This is set to go off at 5 p.m. I've got 3 feedings a day, and the last one would have been 5 p.m. So 2.5 hours ago it went off, and you can see the food there. Again, the wind's blowing at me, so anything that went out that wasn't fed is going to be coming back this way. And you can see there's actually a little more food here than I would expect. And this thing is only running for 1 second at a time. So it fed at 9 a.m., it fed at noon, and it fed at 5 a.m. again. And then, even the minnows, they're not eating it. You can see, I don't know, I'm hoping you can see the minnows. There's a tremendous amount of life in this pond. But the minnows aren't even eating it when it gets over here on the side. And I don't know, I think we can do a lot better. So let's go ahead and we'll hit it on a test just because. Now this thing has been set up, again, I think for about 3 weeks, and I was feeding them by hand in this spot before. So they are pretty well accustomed to eating right here. I used to feed them just on the other side of the corner. So now they're, you know, for the last, oh, I don't know, month or a little more, they've been eating right here. So we'll go ahead and run it for a second. Let's see, feed one at 9 a.m., 5 p.m., and 12 p.m., noon. So it last went off, you know, 2.5 hours ago. We'll do a test run for 1 second. And we'll see how well they're eating this stuff. Like, see, some of it doesn't go far, and it does end up right here. But again, the wind's blowing this way, so all this stuff that didn't get eaten is gonna come, it'll all end up over here. So all this, you know, all this food here, this did not come from just being cast here. It was cast out further and blew this way. I should say the temperature is very warm. I'm in t-shirt today. It's been up in the 80s the last few days. Last night it only got down to like 60 or 65. Water's been warm. I actually placed the aerators earlier this week and I swam those out. So, I mean, the water was cool, but it's warm. It's, you know, we're coming on summertime. You can see one little swirl there as one fish come up. There's another. So they're kind of investigating it, but I don't know. It could be way better. They just don't like this feed. And like I said, there's plenty of fish in here. So all those, I don't know if you can see all those little ripples out there, just full of minnows. I think we put something like, I don't know, we put something like 500 bluegill in here last year, and like, I want to say about 300 of those were, you know, caught on hook and line from a couple other places and brought in. So those fish are really big this year. The rest of them were, you know, bought as like 2 or 3 inch fingerlings last year. And those fish are all 4 and 5 inches long this year. So it's not like there's no fish in here to eat the food. And we put in 30 hybrid stripers. So, I mean, I've actually been very surprised that this machine will cast food as far as it does. It'll throw this food further than I can by hand. So I'm really happy with the machine. I think the machine with this new food will be able to cast it out far enough for the hybrids to have access to it, because I just don't think they like to come into the shallow. But I sure haven't seen the hybrids hit this stuff at all. So this is kind of how they do. They really just don't like this food. I'm gonna go ahead and get in here. Don't have a tremendous amount left, but I'm gonna go ahead and get in here with my scoop, clean it all out. We'll put the new stuff in. Okay. All right, well, I got all the feed out of there, and to get every last little crumb, I actually held an empty feed bag out in front of the blower because I didn't want it to just keep blowing old food out there. It's been a couple of minutes, and you can see there's still a bunch of feed sitting there, and they're really not hitting it at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump the new stuff in. But as you can see, there is nothing left in there but just a few little crumbs. Okay, well, I just went ahead and grabbed a couple of samples here. So this is the old stuff. This is the new stuff. The only difference that you can see is the color. Diameters both look identical, so I'm really glad about that. This is supposed to be floating. This Sportfish 500 is supposed to be all floating. So I really wasn't sure if the size was going to be, you know, close. I knew it would be close. I didn't know if it was going to be the same, but boy, it sure is. So I'm glad for that. All right, this video is going to end up being a lot longer than I expected because I'm going to keep jumping in with new stuff. And by the way, if you hear anything in the background, I got the bubble crew with me tonight. So we got bubble juice all over the golf cart now, dripping off her hands, down her elbows, but just enough breeze where she was really making some bubbles a minute ago. I wish you guys could smell. So when I stick my head down in this bag, this smells like fish. It smells like a fish cleaning station, like a clean fish cleaning station. Just got a real light hint of fish. And when I stick my face right down in that, it doesn't really have a smell. Kind of, you know, like feed, like a dog food, sorta almost, but not really. But again, that is, you know, mostly grain, where this #1 ingredient is fish meal. So I'm really, really hopeful about this. I can't believe. I wish you guys could smell that. It smells like fish. It's really cool. For fish food, it ought to. All right, so the new stuff is in the feeder, and just out of curiosity, I'm gonna go ahead and run it for a second and see what happens. I don't really expect them to go crazy for it, but I'm kind of curious if they will. Because right now, they're just not hitting that old stuff. So we'll just see what happens here. Most of that old stuff is still kind of out, lingering around out there. You see how far that throws it? It really, really gets it out there. Wow, it looks oily on the water. Every one of them little things is putting out a little oiliness. That's a good thing. I don't expect them to go crazy here, but yeah, it's worth watching, see what happens. And again, they're not used to eating right now. They're used to the last meal being 2.5 hours ago. Not much activity. Well, we're over at the pond again today, and it's been 4 or 5 days, I guess, since we changed the food out. I was over here a couple days ago. I haven't really gotten around to. I know I said I was going to do like the next day after I changed the feed. We'd come over here at like 7 or 7:30, whatever time it was, and just the timing just hasn't worked out. But anyhow, I was over here a couple days ago, and it was right at 5 o'clock. And when the feeder went off, the fish really didn't seem like they hit the feed any harder than they did when I was giving them extra food. So I don't know, I figured we'd try it again. It's about 7 o'clock right now. I figured we'd try it again right now, see what they do. And I've got a sort of a hypothesis. I'll run it past you guys. We'll see what happens here at first though. See, the minnows are pretty active there today. I think really cast that food out there. I don't notice any difference with you know, the distance from this food compared to the other. It throws it just as far, but I'll bet you that's thrown at 60 feet or more. Not much activity at all. I'm hoping that stuff out in the middle is them hybrids. Kind of doubt it, but I'm hoping that it is. So in review, my schedule here, I'm feeding them 3 times a day for 1 second each feeding. And I don't know if it's showing up how much food's out there. I mean, you guys saw it hitting the water. I mean, it'd give you an idea of how much food's out there. I don't know if I'm kind of speculating here that maybe because of the sort of the overall health just of the pond naturally, that there's plenty of food in the water. I mean, there's a whole bunch of minnows just swimming around there. I was watching minnows. I just walked around that corner. I was watching minnows swim across that corner, right out across the open water. I mean, there's just not, you know, the minnows are doing great. I know the big bluegill eat the minnows. Them hybrids apparently are not decimating the minnow population because there's so many of them. There are bullfrog tadpoles all over in here. And I've got plenty of cover. There's lots of structure. There's lots of things for, you know, phytoplankton and zooplankton to kind of, I just wonder if it's kind of the health of the pond is doing so well on its own that these bluegill do not need this, this food. That's the only thing I can think. There's plenty of them in here, and they're nice size. They look healthy. But the only thing I can think, because I know this is the best food money can buy. This is the best fish food you can get your hands on. And they're just not eating it. It's perfect size. I mean, it's oily, it smells like fish. When I open that lid up and stick my head in there, it smells like fish. It's, so I know it's gotta be attractive to them. But I mean, I guess if there was a big bowl of ice cream in front of me and I still hadn't finished off my plate of food, I probably wouldn't be apt to eat the ice cream either. So that's kind of what I'm wondering is going on here. If it's just not, if they just don't have sort of a smorgasbord all the time, and they just really don't care to eat this supplemental food. That's the only thing I can figure, guys. So, I don't know. I guess I'll continue to feed them in hopes that, if nothing else, that the wiper will take to it. I mean, there's another swirl out there, you know, so that's sort of far out. I mean, it very well could be bluegill, and honestly, it probably is, but I really want them wiper to take to this feed, you know, because, you know, I just want them to get as big as possible. So I don't know, I guess I'll keep on 3 times a day like I am, but I did not notice a big change like I expected to from that Shawnee Springs, I think was the name of that stuff, to this, you know, Purina Aquamax Sportfish 500. Really no difference. I'm shocked by that. I hope I helped you if you guys are looking at different fish foods or feeders or whatever. I'm really happy with the performance of this Texas Hunter feeder. Again, I've only had it for about a month now, I guess, or maybe a little more. I'm really happy with the performance of it. I've got no complaints about it. But maybe I helped you with this one, guys. If I did, click that thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos of me working on the pond or working on stuff in the garage, click the subscribe button. Until the next video, keep on tinkering.